Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another episode with the Jupiter 2 build from Moebius from the TV show Lost in Space. So you remember last episode I left you with this shot here of the fusion core. Well, I noticed that the lights are extremely bright and harsh, and it's clearly LEDs you can see through there. So here is the inside of the fusion core, and we had this plastic clear window piece here that I traced to cut out a circle of styrene. And here's the bottom ring, and I put out some little holes here to line up where the plastic portion would be for the clear windows. My little ring fits in there, so that covers up the bottom portion of the windows of the fusion core. And these windows here, you can see there's an angle to them. They're not perfectly 90 degrees, so there's a curvature there. So with my protractor, I've drawn out a rather large circle, a bit larger than the fusion core itself, and I'll cut it out as a strip. Now that I've got the strip cut out, you can see when I curve it together into a smaller circle that there is a angle there that it falls on. And I just did a guess on what I thought it would be, and I'm going to look at it here and see how it works out. And it looks like the curvature is pretty good. It fits in there pretty nicely. So I've gone and I painted the entire inside of the Jupiter 2 black for light blocking purposes, and I've put a bunch of liquid electrical tape around some of the light leaking areas of the landing gear. So here we have that piece of styrene that I cut out to go on the bottom window portions of the fusion core, and I'm just going to super glue that into place. And I'm just going to use my little super glue applicator here and first go around to each of those little hole points I did, and then do some around the edges where it might need it. So I've glued all around, a little bit around on the inside here, and you can see it's not falling out, it's nice and secure. So now I'm going to go ahead and start with my other strip here and glue the tip of it and just start going around the fusion core and gluing it into place to cover up all the windows. So I'm having to actually cut it into sections. It's easier that way, and then each section I'm just going around the edges and gluing them into place, and then looking on the bottom side to make sure there's no light leaking anywhere. So I've got all of my styrene in place. It's looking really nice. It's not exactly pretty on the inside, but nobody's going to see the inside. So there we've got it all glued down for the inside of the fusion core, and you can see the underside here. There's a little spot there I need to get where I see a crack of light, but for the most part you can see it's just solid white all around on the bottom of the fusion core. So now we've got my fusion core lighting system here, and I marked here in on the fusion core electronics where they line up so that the LEDs will be perfectly aligned with each of the windows, since I can't see them anymore because of my styrene sheets that I've put in there. And I'm just going to use a little hot glue here, and I'm going to hot glue with a few dabs the electronics for the LED lighting into place on the fusion core. And that's nice and glued and secured and dried now, as you can see. It doesn't move or anything, and it's nice and snug. So just plug in my cable here and give it a little juice and do a test, and there we can see the fusion core lighting working, and here's how it looks on the underside. Cut the light down dramatically. Here's a before shot, and here's an after shot. It looks much better. Another little angle. It just shows the squares better. The white light is cut way down. You don't see the LEDs themselves. It looks much more like it's supposed to and like it did on the show. So I've gone and I've taken my wires for the fusion core and this set of wires here, which goes to the upper portion of the ship for a little rotating light thing, which I don't know if I'll be using yet or not. And they're going through this cable tie here that I've secured to the bottom hull of the Jupiter 2. And I've also cut out a sheet of styrene, which I'm going to use for light blocking of the entire fusion core. And I notched it out for each of the 3 legs to help it fit in place. And you can see I've gone and I've shot the top side of it with some primer and then black paint, and I'm going to glue it down around the edges to block as much light as possible. And here's a shot at nighttime, and you can just see little cracks of light around the edges of the landing gear. So I think this should be sufficient and do really well. So with this portion out of the way and done, we move on to the base of the interior of the Jupiter 2, which I've got right here with these little notches all around where the walls and stuff go in. But you'll see in this photograph, a lot of them have flashing all around, lots of flashing that I have to deal with. So I've taken off all the flashing. I have primed this with white primer, as you can see, and it's nice and clean looking. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this little area here, which is the elevator pad. And I'm going to airbrush that using Tamiya flat aluminum XF16. I'm just going to go ahead and give that some paint here and paint that in with flat aluminum. So you can see here it's all painted, and I've gone and I've let it dry and sealed it. So here we have a set of painting masks which my client sent along with the model kit, which will actually come in pretty useful. And on this sheet here we have a mask for the big circle in the main center of the floor. And on this sheet here we have a mask of a little circle which covers up the elevator pad, which I just painted flat aluminum. So I'm just going to take this little mask here and I'm going to place it over the pad of the elevator. And then I'm going to use wooden deck tan Tamiya XF78, and I'm going to paint with my airbrush the entire center ring portion here of the floor of the interior. Alright, so I've got that all painted here, as you can see, and it has dried, and I have some flat sealer on there. So now I'm going to apply the mask for this center ring into place, so that when I paint the rest of the floor, this deck tan will be safe underneath this mask. Moving on to the rest of the floor, I've got some Vallejo leather brown here, which I will be painting the entire floor with. So with my masks in place covering the elevator shaft pad and the center ring, once again I'm just going to go around the entire floor here and spray it with this Vallejo leather brown. Alright, so I've got this all done and painted, as you can see here. And it's time to remove the masks and take a look at this floor. And I'm very happy with the results of this. It's looking really nice. I've gone and removed all these interior wall pieces and all from the sprues. These here, all the wall beams, are actually 2 pieces, but this is the entire middle section walls and everything of the interior. These wall beams here are going to be the big thing for me to work on for this kit. They snap together, as you can see here, and in the middle here that's supposed to be nice and smooth, and it's actually supposed to be a light which pulsates slowly. At least that's how it works on the show. It pulsates slowly. So my goal is to try to make that work. I'm thinking a LED strip in the back here to shine through the beam and come out the front. That's my plan. I'll be going into that a little bit later on in the build. So I've dry fit all these pieces into place on the floor just to get an idea of where everything's going for me, to see what I need to work on first, to see what issues may arise, and just to give myself a little clear vision of how this is all going to go together to help me with the build and with painting actually. So the first thing I'm going to do is these pieces here, I think. These are the easiest ones. They require very little to do, no lighting or anything. There is a photo etch piece right here, this speaker, which goes on the wall, but that's about the extent of any extra detailing. So I'm going to remove the speaker from the photo etch here. Cleaned off the edges, made it nice and clean. Shaved off all the little nubs from where it was removed from the photo etch. And I've primed the walls and the speaker pad, and I've also sanded down the existing speaker that was on the kit. Then I'm going to use this Vallejo sand primer, and I'm going to make this the base color for all the walls in the entire interior. I like this color. I think it looks really nice, and I think it's going to work really well, and it's a close match to the walls, and you can see here how it looks. And I've also painted black in the behind area of where the speaker will go, so that when the speaker is put in place, there's some depth there and you can see into the speaker, as you can see right here. And on this wall there is a little fire extinguisher that goes right here, as you can see. So I'm going to give this a shot of some gloss red here, your typical glossy red. Painted the silver band around it, the nozzle black, glued that in place. Now it's time to move on to the door. And I'm going to use my Tamiya Fine Surface Gray Primer. I really like this shade of gray, and that's going to be the base coat for the recessed portions of the door. Then I have here the mask to cover up the recessed areas right in here. And I've gone and I've put the mask pieces inside there. And now I'm going to use neutral gray Tamiya XF53 and paint the raised areas of the door with this neutral gray. And then, as you can see, I've got it painted here. So I'm going to remove all my tape to see how the door is looking. And there we have the door painted. And now I've put some little glue drops in the corners here, and I'm going to glue my speaker grill into place. And there we have my first two set of walls painted and finished for the Jupiter 2. Moving on to this wall here, I'm going to remove this raised portion of controls on the right, sand it down, get it nice and smooth, as you can see here. And I've gotten that all removed and sanded down. And I've got this photo etch here of a control panel which will go in place of that. And I also have a little speaker grill here which I need to remove, which goes right over this little square cut out on the other wall. So I've removed two control panels in the speaker here. The one control panel will go right here on the wall. And what I'm going to need to do is cut out behind those little circles there so that light can shine through to light them up. So I'm just scoring the area here. I've marked where I need to cut out, and I've gone and I've removed a whole square area, as you can see right here. And I need to do the same on this lower portion for the other control panel here. So I've got that cut out and removed for the other control panel. You can see when I put the panel over my cutout here, I take a flashlight and shine it through the back side. You can see how light comes through, and then light will light up the buttons. So I've got both of the control panels glued in place, everything painted, the door painted, same as I did with the other wall. So nothing new to show you, except this one has stripes here. So I've got this all taped up, and this area here has a couple stripes. We got a gray stripe down the center and brown stripes on the side. So I'll be using wooden deck tan from Tamiya and medium gray for these two different stripes. And I've gone and I've painted both the stripes, as you can see here. And I've got my control panels painted, and I just need to put the speaker in place. So I'm going to put a few little drops of glue around the edge of this cutout, and I'm just going to glue my speaker in place. And I have not painted it. I'm leaving it the photo etch color because it's supposed to be brass, so I think it looks nice. Now I'm going to apply a decal to the control panels. As you can see here, I used a little bit of quick set to hold that in place, and I've applied a decal onto this control panel as well. A little hard to see, but it is there. And then the control panel I have in place here. I'm going to use some clear red by Tamiya, and on the back side, some of these holes I'm going to fill in with clear red so the lights will shine through red. And I also have some clear blue, and I have remaining holes which are supposed to be blue in color, which I've filled in here. I've also painted the back side of the entire wall black for light blocking purposes. And you can see here how the light shines through and you get red and blue because of the clear paints that I did on the back side. Lastly, we have this wall here. There's a little panel here I need to remove, and this little photo etch piece goes there. And then we have this panel which goes up here, and there's also some areas on the edges that need to be removed for some more photo etch. So I've sanded down and put the little photo etch piece here. Now I've drilled out holes for lights for where the other photo etch piece will go, and it's this little photo etch piece here, and the holes line up so that light can shine through. And I've gone and I painted the entire thing chrome silver, and I painted the photo etch black, and I need to paint these little squares yellow. And now I've gone and I've painted those with just Tamiya yellow. I've put that in place in the wall, and I've got these little decals here which go over the photo etch portions on either side. So I've now placed those decals in place. And there's these 3 fire extinguishers which I've gone and painted, which fit in right underneath this panel. And I will be gluing these into place through the back side. I've put super glue around the pins. And then I've got these 4 ladders which I've painted flat aluminum, and they go into this portion here on the side. And there was also a little decal I put up here, cabin pressure control. And I've also gone on the back side of these and filled it in with clear Tamiya paints. And here we have this wall finished with lighting. So a quick update, I showed some photos to my client, and I am now using this beige brown from Vallejo and German gray from Tamiya, and I've repainted these stripes, made them darker. Again, the Tamiya dark gray in the middle here, and the Vallejo beige brown, and then I did the strip of black down the center. And here we have all the pieces just loosely set inside the floor. You know, we have these 2 pieces with the photo etch parts that will light up, and then we have the first 2 set of wall pieces I did here with the fire extinguisher. So that's going to cover it for this episode. Next episode I'll be getting more into more walls and detailing, and probably get into a little bit more lighting. Not exactly sure what else, but so until next time, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll be here next episode. Hey, if you like watching my videos, please feel free to give them a like. And so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos, click subscribe.